Yeah, hi there, Felix, and I am Michael Buckoff, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-Step System to pass the TOEFL IBT. And you had a question. This is a valid question. I think other people might also have this question, which is why I'm posting it at my YouTube channel. So any of you guys over on my YouTube channel, if you guys are wondering how to use grammar more proficiently or more automatically in your speaking, you want to watch this video. Now at the end of the video, if anybody else wants to make any comments, if you guys have any ideas that you think would help Felix or any other student who's preparing for the TOEFL test, the main question here is how to use grammar more naturally in speaking, right? You can post your suggestions at the end of this video. All right, so Felix, you say, I know the grammar of English pretty well. You know what? I can tell from your writing and your speaking that you do. You say, I know how to develop it and deliver it in a proper way. That's why the score in writing is always 24 above. But the obstacle is in the speaking section. When it comes, you want to say here, when it comes to speaking, it's very hard for me to speak, I would say, to speak proper grammar here. And this is because I don't have time to think about the grammar usage. Unlike the writing, you might say here, when I get 30 minutes to think and write, any suggestions? Yes, I do. My first suggestion is make sure you go to, I'm going to just put here grammar. I'll tell you what I mean. My first suggestion is to go to my online TOEFL course here. This is where you guys study. Go to the grammar section of my course. Make sure you complete the grammar and diagnostic pretest. This is important. Grammar is step number 3. So let me tell you what I'm talking about here. So my first suggestion is this. You need to complete this diagnostic pretest. Now once you do that, that will tell you which of these lessons you need to focus on more. And you want to study these lessons until it becomes more natural to you. Now, there are a few lessons in here that are more important than others. Not all lessons are equal in terms of how effective they will be in terms of helping you speak and write more naturally. So let me point out a few things. I think lesson number 5, compound sentences, you make sure you review that. Lesson 6, sentences with adjective clauses, review that. Lesson 7, sentences with noun clauses, review that. Lesson 8, sentences with adverb clauses, and then sentences with multiple clauses. So if you review those lessons, that's showing you how to combine sentences. And you need to be able to do that during the speaking section. But it's hard because you have to know what kinds of connectors you need to use in order to combine those sentences. Did you see when I was editing yours, I put some connectors in there that you didn't put in there, which made your writing better. Sometimes I change a word to a different word. So even in your writing, you do have a few minor grammar errors that exist. But of course, in speaking, it will only be magnified, which means if you have a few errors in your writing, it'll be a lot worse when it comes to your speaking typically. Right? So that's my first suggestion there. Now let me show you some other lessons that you should pay attention to in the grammar area of my course. This one, lesson number 26, sentence variety. This is very important. Now also, lesson 26.2, sentence variety practice exercises. You should practice maybe 10 or 12 of these sample sentences or exercises here. Again, it's showing you how to combine sentences. What you want to do, Felix, is go to an exercise so you don't see the answer. It says combine the following 2 sentences into a compound sentence using the coordinate conjunction and. So you're going to rewrite the sentence and combine them together. You might, well, Mike, I already know how to do it, but knowing how to do it, but writing it down or doing it by speaking is even better. And then you can look at the possible answers. So then you go to a second exercise. It says separate the following sentence into 3 separate sentences. Again, now you're thinking about how the sentence was created, and then you have to separate it, and that helps you understand more there. So I think it's important that you complete some of the exercises in that particular lesson. Again, 26.2. You see what I'm saying? Now, of course, once you get through with the grammar, you can take the post-test at the end to make sure you have mastered all the lessons in this particular section of my course. Okay, so now let's go back to your answer. So now, once you've done that, and it's a work in progress, the next thing you can do is write out sample speaking responses using the grammar you learned. This is also important. Now you say, well, Michael, I cannot write out my responses during the TOEFL IBT exam. I only have 15 seconds to think about it. Of course, I understand that. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying that if you write out some of your responses, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, you write out one of your sample speaking responses, make sure it is exactly grammatically correct, and you're using a combination of basic and more complex type grammar. If you write out that response and you do that periodically over several weeks, eventually the grammar that you're using will become more natural, and pretty soon you'll start using it in your speaking. No joke. It can happen. It's kind of like driving a car. I don't know if you drive a car yet, but years ago when I first started driving an automobile, and I had to read, I had to learn all the rules of the road, I had to take a driving test, and in the beginning it seemed like there were many things I had to think about when I was driving. For example, maybe I have to put my foot on the brake, I put the gear into reverse, I release my foot from the brake, then I put it onto the accelerator, and I gradually move backwards. All the while I'm checking my rear and my side view mirrors. I'm like, crap, that's a lot of stuff. I could think about so many different things when I'm driving a car. I said to myself back then, I go, I'll never learn how to drive a car. But you know what? It became natural to me. So if you practice the grammar and you write out your responses, eventually it will become more natural to you. Now keep doing the writing practice test. I know that my teaching assistant just graded one of your writing practice tests today, so you're doing a great job there. That's also going to reinforce some of what you're learning. But remember though, you have to go to the grammar section, and you want to make sure you're studying the lessons there if you want to expand your grammar knowledge. Then by writing out your sample speaking responses using the grammar you learned, and then posting them online for me to score, you should see some improvements. And then, of course, eventually, you should post speaking practice test, gradually increasing the amount of time it takes for you to brainstorm. For example, maybe when you're doing some speaking practice test, maybe this week, maybe you take 2 minutes or 3 minutes to prepare your response. Then the next week, you only take maybe 1.5 or 2 minutes to prepare your response. 3 weeks later, you take only 60 seconds to prepare your response. The next week, you do 30 seconds. Eventually, you post speaking responses only taking 15 seconds for your preparation. The only thing you can really do, Felix, is to write down maybe 2 or 3 keywords of ideas that you think you want to talk about during your speaking response, and then it's up to you to choose the grammar and the vocabulary to help you express those ideas. You see what I'm saying? So those are my suggestions right now for you, Felix. Now, in addition to following these 3 suggestions, make sure you're reading newspapers, read magazines, listen to things, watch TV, because that all gives you exposure and it shows you how we construct English. where we put our subjects, where we put our verbs, where we put our prepositional phrases, what kinds of connectors we use to connect ideas together with simple, compound, or complex sentences, and on and on and on. So it's just a constant exposure to the language, I think, and then following these specific suggestions in this video to help you use grammar more naturally when you're speaking. All right. Anyway, thank you very much for your comments and keep up the good work.